Okay, it looks like we're live. I need to find out, though, if everybody can hear me okay, and if you're getting this broadcast to you now. Hopefully you got the link and the invite, and that's working for you. I'm just going to double check a couple of things to make sure nobody else has been left off of this. There should be a place for you to type in questions. If you could just type in real quick just that you can hear me okay, that would be great. And then we can go ahead and get started. So I'm hoping to hear from a few of you at least to make sure that I'm actually broadcasting live. Google Hangouts on Air is fairly new to me. I've done Google Hangouts before, but never this way with the on-air part. So this is kind of new. And I'm wanting to make sure that that you guys can all hear me okay. So I'm hoping, let's see. I don't see any. Let me try this and see if this works. There's a place for group chat also. I think the Q&A is what we wanted to have. So can you type something in or just message me really quick on Facebook or with an email that you're on and that you can hear this live, and then we can go from there. So I'm going to stick my other face back on here for a second while I check a couple more settings and make sure that we've got everybody on here. So let me just make sure. So you're still hearing me. I think maybe I used the wrong link. That might be part of the problem. So let me real quick go into my email and go back and see. Oh, you see my face blurred. Okay, and you can hear me. Awesome. I'm going to do one more thing just and see if this helps a little bit. It might help the breakdown of what you guys are hearing. It'd be a really good idea for everybody to mute your microphones, even though you probably can't hear yourself. That will take up less bandwidth, and mute your I guess not mute it, but shut off your camera. That will also help with the bandwidth that's going on. So I'm going to shoot out one more quick email to everybody. Let's see. Sorry, I don't mean to take so long on this part, but some of this is a little bit new to me. I'm sorry. A little bit new. That's okay. We like new things, right? New things make us feel happy inside. Okay, so if there's a few of you who didn't, I'm just going to send this one more out. Let's see if this gives you a different way to see it. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get started. This is all being recorded, so you can go back and re-listen to any of the things that that you need to after we're done, which is awesome. Let me just make sure Amy received her invitation. I'll get this down. I really will. Wonderful. Okay. I'm hearing. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, my son's
Amy, I need to mute your microphone.
Okay.
Okay, I think I did it. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you a class on financial freedom. It's sometimes called financial autonomy. And this class will help you create some goals for the new year and give you some really good specific tips on how you can change your financial future. I learned these things all throughout my life, and I'm going to give you more information about why I feel this is a good opportunity for you to learn from me today. I'm going to do a screen share with you real quick and bring up the presentation. Hopefully you can all see that. This is called the Financial Freedom webinar. And what we're going to talk about is what financial autonomy is. First of all, I want you to know that I'm the current co-owner of 2 corporations and about 3 different LLCs. I was raised in a family of wealth, and I only learned positive thinking toward money. I trade the stock market, I do options, and I've done that for the last 8 years, and I practice what I preach. This class may seem a little bit frustrating at first because we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Some of it isn't such great news, but all of the news that I give you is information so that you can kind of jump forward from this point. Okay, we have some more feedback, so let me really
You are only doing company songs, and I'm like...
Okay, I'm going to mute Katie. I don't know how come you guys are showing up there, but that's all right. Love you anyway. Just make sure you keep your microphone muted so that everybody can hear what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit. Now, hopefully you're seeing the what is financial autonomy in... Yes, you are. Okay, I just want to make sure that's what you're seeing as well. Oh, I think I just lost it, didn't I? Let me try one more time. Okay, there we go. I do have one more thing I need to do really quick. This will help with the... Okay. Now we're going to go back to the screen sharing. All right, so we're going to be discussing freedom a lot in this lecture. We're going to talk about the history of money and the psychology of money and some basics on how to generate wealth. We're going to talk a little bit about the 6 Laws of Conscious Creation, which is a book written by Chris Crone. And I have some things to offer you at the end that partly some of these things you've paid for, like the Belief Breakthrough appointment is yours as part of this financial autonomy class. And we go through a belief breakthrough session about money, the #1 thing that's getting in your way about money. I hope that you have a pen and paper and that you're able to kind of write down a few of these things. I could talk about this specific subject for hours, and it's really important that you realize this is a very brief seminar, but I do have a lot of information in here, so you may want to review it later. Take a look at some of the ideas and try to implement them as quickly as you can. So money is one of the few things that evades so many of us. A lot of us have good relationships, or we've got, you know, a good self-esteem or other things, but man, money, it's like, why can't I grab onto that? Why can't I hold on to that? A lot of it comes through our belief system. So financial autonomy is a big thing because financial refers to the monetary resources of a government, a company, an organization, or an individual. It's basically the revenue that's generated. So you have personal financial autonomy. A company has financial autonomy, and governments have financial autonomy. And autonomy is the Greek for meaning having one's own laws. So we're trying to get it so that you can create your own specific laws around money. One of the biggest problems we have is we have mathematical literacy, which is taught in the public schools. So we all learn how to add, subtract, divide, multiply. We get into some algebraic things and even some geometric ideas, but we really have very little educational literacy, religious literacy, and the biggest thing is financial literacy. We do not have financial literacy. We don't teach people how to understand the process of saving, the process of building wealth. We teach consumerism. And so that's one of our biggest battles, is really recognizing you are being force-fed consumerism on a very giant scale, and it's very difficult to get around that. So what I want you to ask yourself right now is, are you free? And what does freedom really mean when it comes to your finances? And when I talk about that, what I really want you to think about is, how do you move the cause of freedom for yourself, or for your family, or for even maybe your country? Do you have enough freedom in your life to really go forward? We complain about government, we complain about taxes, but are we in a position to do anything if we're not managing our own personal financial freedom? We talk about money, but we don't understand the relationship that it often has with freedom. So let's talk a little bit about the history of money. So first of all, money is just a thing that is traded that has value. So in Africa, they used cowrie shells. So you can see those on the screen. And in Sanskrit, it was called kaparda, and it held great value. These shells held more value than anything else that they had, so they used them to trade. That was really nice because it gave people something easy to trade for. So you needed milk, and you didn't have a chicken that the person that had the milk wanted. Well, you could trade a shell, and then that shell could be traded for the chicken. And we've done the same thing now, and we've switched it to gold. So gold kind of became that universal, easy to identify, easy to measure money that was started to be used in our history. Well, we moved from paper equaling gold to so that they were equal, because gold was heavy, it was difficult to carry around, and so the banks began to hold the gold for people and issued paper money in its place. So that worked really well until, of course, we stopped backing our currency by gold. So most people don't realize that no currency in any country is currently backed by gold. We abandoned the gold standard in 1933, and then we completely severed the link to gold and the dollar in 1971. And there are a few places that are trying to revive this, especially with oil. They want to trade oil for gold instead of oil for dollars, because dollars is the world currency for oil right now, and they want to bring it back to gold. And this is creating wars and a bunch of other things that are happening in America that are very interesting in the Middle East because of this gold to dollar ratio and the oil to dollar ratio. So nobody uses gold anymore. So it's gone. We've built a fiat currency that is debt-based. So it's really hard to read it on this slide, but the first one, the top one, says silver certificate. So what that means is you could trade that $5 bill in for $5 worth of silver. And the bottom one says Federal Reserve note, which means you can trade that bill in for nothing. It just is a note saying that that is owed to the Federal Reserve of the United States. Very different currencies. One is a true currency based on an actual product like silver or gold, and the other one is debt-based. We also had a bunch of interesting things happen in our country. We have had, got a little cold, sorry. Andrew Jackson became president in 1828, and he denounced the centralized banks as an engine of corruption. He was adamant that we needed to allow Congress to control money instead of a central private bank. So we've eliminated central banks so many times in America, but in 1913 we started one again, and that's the Federal Reserve. And if you're not aware of it, this is a private bank, and it is no more federal than Federal Express. So if you want more information on the Federal Reserve, I recommend reading the book The Creature from Jekyll Island. And I know a friend of mine, Connor Boyack, just put out a children's version of that to teach children about fiat currency and how it works as well. Great Christmas gift for your kids. The other thing I want to talk about really quickly is I want you to understand there's cycles of money. So if you can see my mouse, hopefully you can see it, this cycle goes up 49 years and then down 49 years and then up 49 years and then down 49 years. And this cycle is known as the Jubilee cycle in the Bible. but it is also known as the Kondratiev wave by academia. So the Kondratiev wave, they called it a 50-year cycle, but it's close. It's 49 to 50 years where we have an up cycle in money and then a down cycle in money. So you may see this experienced in your own life, but more likely you're seeing your life happen in 7-year cycles, because the 7-year cycle of money is also very real, and our banking cycles are designed around that 7-year cycle. So think about it. It used to be you could declare bankruptcy every 7 years. And the bankruptcy laws were created by the people who ran the banks in America, and those were the Jews at the time. And because of those banking laws, it allowed you to kind of restart fresh every 7 years. And that actually helps create more abundance in a society, not less. So I want to talk to you a little bit about psychology of money. And I want you to write down on a piece of paper any beliefs you have. You probably have more than these, a lot more than these. I've written down a few beliefs that people have about money, like money doesn't grow on trees. Money is filthy and dirty. Money is evil. I'm poor, but I'm clean, or I'm poor, but I'm good. Rich people are crooks. I will never get a good job. I will never make enough money. I'm always in debt. I don't deserve to have money. Money only comes from hard work. These are really common statements that come from most people deep inside of them that they learned when they were growing up. Some of them come from their parents, some of them come from society, some of them come from their friends, and some of them come from their religious backgrounds. But most of these ideas and thoughts are often what is blocking us from being able to receive money. So if you're going to have a breakthrough session with me, I want you to write down your specific beliefs regarding money that are negative. And it doesn't matter how silly you think it is, write it down, because understanding what those beliefs are is a really big part of overcoming that belief and creating a new belief. It really matters how you view money and how you think about it. The other thing that I want to really explain here is that money is just a tool. I know that I have someone on this program who actually held $100,000 in her hands at a seminar, and some of you may have even been there to witness this. This $100,000, I remember what she was saying when she was on stage, and I hope she doesn't mind that I'm using her story. But she was saying, this just feels so heavy. Man, I mean, like, what an awesome burden I think that would feel to carry $100,000. But to have $100,000 right in front of you and be able to touch it and see it, that may put a lot of emotion into you. They also did a bath with $100,000, and I did the bath myself. But you want to know what's funny? It had no impact on me. None. I felt no response from it. I could have been swimming in a bunch of cut up cardstock or cut up construction paper, and it would have been exactly the same to me, because money doesn't hold any quality. It doesn't hold good qualities, and it doesn't hold bad qualities. Money just is. It's just a tool, and if you recognize it as a tool, it stops having power over you. And it also doesn't change people. A lot of people believe, oh, money will change me. I will become bad if I have a lot of money, or I will become a mean person or a greedy person. Well, let me just say, if your basic characteristic is flawed, then you will magnify those flaws. And if your basic character is one of goodness and it's genuine, then you will magnify those qualities. So stop being afraid that money will change you. It actually won't. So decide right now who you are. Are you good? Are you generous? Are you kind? Are you giving? Are you greedy? Are you angry? Are you, manipulative? If you are any of those things, money will magnify those things in you. So when you say they changed, if you see somebody that suddenly gets money and they changed, oh no, they didn't change. You just now saw who they always were get magnified at a really big level. So the most important thing to recognize is that if you If you actually want to have money in your life and you're afraid to have money because you think you might be some of those negative qualities, change the qualities in you, and then that won't scare you anymore. The other thing I want you to go through at some time in the future is your sacred text. So go through whatever your sacred text is, whether it's the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Talmud, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it is. I want you to go through your sacred text and find all the verses about money, wealth, abundance, stewardship, and riches, and find the truth. So I put up an example just from the Bible because it's one a lot of people know about the Good Samaritan. Was the Good Samaritan rich? Well, I would have to say that he was. So did he do more good in the world rich or poor? Because he helped someone who was poor and beaten on the side of the road. So was money evil, or was what he did with money good? So the money itself is not actually evil. And I think we have to really work hard on removing that idea that money is evil. So many of our sacred texts talk about money, and they talk about money negatively and they talk about money positively. But they really aren't talking about the money. They're talking about how someone uses their stewardship with money, what they do with it, how much they love it, or how much they love it over their God. So I want you to figure out what your sacred text really says, because I've gone through mine with a fine-tooth comb, and I have found so much in my sacred text that teaches money is a good tool when used rightly, that there are good things that we can do with money, and that money helps serve when we use it properly and when we have the right heart. And as long as it's not in the way of what we know to be good and true and right, it serves a great deal of people, and you can help so many more people with it than you would even realize in the past. One of the things I'm going to give you today for being on this conference with me is a free book by Wallace Wattles. It's called The Science of Getting Rich, or The Science of Abundance. Now, this book struck me to my core, and I started reading this in an online, well, not an online, on a call every morning starting in January, and we read parts of this book every single day. We were on the call for about 45 minutes, and it's something that I felt really helped me. And I would be happy to start this call again in the new year and go through this book by Wallace Wattles, because the impact it had on me was so big. So I love this quote. Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. Health is never to be attained by studying disease and thinking about disease. Righteousness is not to be promoted by studying sin and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. And that's by Wallace Wattles. And he talks a lot about the way you think really does bring into your existence abundance, wealth, riches, and not just abundance in money, but abundance in your relationships, abundance in your health, everything. So this book covers much, much more than just finances, although it's designed to be a tool to help you increase your finances. I think it's a great tool to help you recognize your thinking and how you need to shift your thinking so that you can come into a place of abundance. So I'm going to ask you to do a little shift for me. How many of you have seen this picture before? Probably most of you. So when you look at this photo or this drawing, you either see an old woman or a young woman. Now, if you've never seen this before, this is used in psychology all the time. The young woman is facing away from you, and you are seeing the curvature of her chin right here. And this is a choker that she's wearing. And this is like a shawl, and this is her hair and her feather, and she's wearing a big fur coat of some kind. So if it's an old woman to you, then this is her eye right here, this is her other eyelash, and this is her nose, and this is her chin, and this becomes her mouth. So What I'm trying to show you guys here is that the same thing can be in front of you, no matter how you see it. It's the same. It's the same picture, but you have to decide what you want to see. It really is the glass half empty or half full? It's the same glass. You have to start choosing to see things differently. So I'm asking you to just shed all of your old thinking for a minute as we go through the rest of this seminar, because I'm going to ask you to take on some new beliefs and start thinking differently about money. You know, I wonder if oh yeah. So here we're going to go. We're going to go from, remember the old beliefs we talked about with that are possible to think about money? So here's some new beliefs. And I have this belief with a lie around it, because we're going to replace those old lies with these new beliefs, which are actually truths. So you have to believe you deserve prosperity, that you are prosperity. You have to make space for the new, even if it's only in your mind. And when I say that, I mean that, because a cluttered closet means a cluttered mind. And trust me, I have been doing a ton of purging lately, and I'm amazed at how, as I purge things in my life, I am actually finding room in my mind for new ideas and new thoughts, and new creations are coming to me as I de-junk my physical world around me. It's amazing. So this is something that I really recommend everybody put on the top of their list. De-junk your closets and de-junk your drawers and your cupboards. Do it one at a time, one a day, and you'll be amazed at how much this makes space for new things that you need and want. So money is one of the easiest things to demonstrate. You need to learn to love your bills. Rejoice in the good fortune of others. Okay, this one can be difficult for people. There are a lot of people who really, they get envious or frustrated when somebody else has something really good happening to them. So they have to really think hard about, okay, so that really awesome thing just happened to them, and I don't need to be jealous or envious. I need to be excited for them, because they got it, it doesn't mean there's less in the world for me. Because if you think in a paradigm of lack, then of course if somebody got it and that means you don't get it, that would be frustrating. But when you rejoice in the good fortune of others, you actually make room for some of those things to come your direction. I want you to visualize what you want to achieve, whether it's a goal with your family relationships or whether it's a monetary goal. And I want you to not only visualize it, but print it out or type it out on paper and stick it on a board. Vision boards are a really good way for you to understand and unlock some of that potential inside your mind. Now, you can't just create the board. You have to look at it every single day, and you have to decide what it feels like to have that in your life. I have some tips on vision boards, and if you would like some information on that, I'd be happy to email you some structure of how you want to create that vision board and how you want to keep it creating things in your life. Recognize that abundance is very real. And when you create a goal, I want you to rejoice in every small victory that you do. When you set a goal like, oh, I want to deposit $10,000 next month, and you deposit $8,000 instead of $10,000, oh my gosh, you did great. You got 80% of your goal done, and you need to rejoice in that. Okay, so what happens if you only got $1,000 and your goal was $10,000? Oh my gosh, you made 10% of your goal. That is awesome. I want you to have a ton of energy around that small victory, and you keep that positive. You never go to the, oh, I didn't make my goal, now I'm a failure, that didn't work. Okay, you cannot go there. You cannot. You have to rejoice in every small victory. I want you to recognize prosperity just not for yourself, but for others as well. Start recognizing all of the things that you have that are totally prosperous in your life. Just if you're living in America and you're listening to this, oh my gosh, you've got so much prosperity, it's amazing. Or even in Canada or almost anywhere. We live in such an amazing amount of abundance here in this country and in this world. Most people in this world don't even have the internet, don't even have a car or a cell phone or any way to even have these classes. So recognize how much prosperity you already have. The other thing is to accept compliments. When someone tells you, oh, you look really nice today, don't do the, oh, thanks, but I just rolled out of bed and threw my hair up. I'm guilty of this. Learn to say thank you and really accept that compliment and let it come into you. Love the bills. When I say love your bills, sometimes that one makes people laugh a little bit. But someone trusts you enough to believe you will pay them later. So be thankful for that. That makes a big difference. So I want you to take your old beliefs, write them all down, get them all out, and then start creating some new belief patterns. This might be a little hard at first, and I'm here to help you through some of these things. And this class that we're going to do, this one-on-one session that's called a belief breakthrough session that we do after this class that we're going to set up for you, this will be about a 30-minute session, and we're going to take your number one limiting belief about money, and we're going to work through to the root of it, and we're going to help you turn that around, and it will be really powerful for you. Now, I put this up here, not because I want to scare you all, but there's a really good, when I teach this class on freedom, I teach a lot about how when we're not financially free, we're really not free. So that little phrase right there that's in German, that I'm not even going to try to say because I don't speak German, says they thought they were free. Or no, it says, a millionaire, I was not. That's what it says. So this comes from the book, They Thought They Were Free. And so this phrase right here was said by, let me get his name right because I want to say it right. His name was Willy Hofmeister, an old policeman who joined the Nazi Party in 1937, because the new police chief said that all the men must join. When he was asked why he didn't refuse, he said, a millionaire, I was not. So we really have to take control of our personal financial autonomy in order to not put ourselves in a situation where we have to do things against our moral judgment because we're not wealthy enough to say no. So I want you to think about that. We live in a society today that is a very similar culture to what was going in history without exception has eventually lost its freedom. And what makes us so special that we would be immune to that? I don't know. Freedom just isn't free. It has to be earned and it has to be maintained. And the best way we can do that is by helping ourselves receive our own personal financial freedom. So we can only be as free as we can afford to be. So this sounds like a funny thing, but it's true. We wave the flag and we get caught up in political battles, or we're listening to Trump and all these people right now in this presidential debate, and I think, where is the real battleground for freedom? And I think the battleground is not political, but it is very cultural, and it really has to do with our personal financial freedom and entrepreneurship in this country. So when I talk about entrepreneurship, why does that matter? It matters so much because even if your husband is at work or you work and you're working and you're bringing in money and you have enough and you're surviving, but you're not really getting ahead and you're kind of continuing the grind, an entrepreneur So we can only care about freedom to the extent that we can afford. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story about a guy named Henry Box Brown. So this guy, and I'm going to tell you about this, and then we're going to get into some real specifics on what you can do to really shift your personal financial future, and change your financial history. So this is the end of kind of the bad news part of it, and then we're going to get into some really cool stuff. So this man was born a slave in Richmond, Virginia, on a plantation, and he began plotting. His name was Henry Brown, and he began plotting his escape when his wife and 3 young children were sold to another slave owner, and they were carried away in chains. After pondering on it, he had a carpenter build an escape vessel, a wood crate 3 feet by 1 inch wide by 2 foot 6 inches high. So 3 feet 1 inch by 2 feet 6 inches. He was 5 feet 6. He was 5 foot 6, so he had to cramp into a fetal position for 24 hours or 20 some hours that it would take the crate to reach the north via the rail car. He lowered himself inside, and a friend nailed the box shut. He only had a few biscuits to sustain himself on the journey. Although the box explicitly said, "This side up with care," it was placed upside down, leaving Brown sitting on his head. The box was then transported to the train depot and thrown into the baggage car, where thankfully it landed right side up. But when it was transferred to the steamboat, Henry found himself again on his head. He was in agony, but he dared not utter a sound. He prayed, and he waited to die. He was saved when some workers turned his box over to sit and rest on it. The box arrived at a depot in Washington, then was placed on a rail car in Philadelphia, arriving at 3 a.m. on the morning of March 30th, 1849. Henry had been doubled up in the box for 26 hours. A man picked up the box and carried it to an office on North 5th Street, where a group of abolitionists awaited. They locked the door behind them. Fearing the worst, one man said, "Let us rap upon the box and see if he is alive." Someone tapped on the side. "Is all right within?" A trembling voice answered, "All right." Brown was free, and he carried his nickname, Henry Box Brown, as a badge of honor through the rest. But it's possible to do something with them if you have one. If you have one that even has $50,000 in it right now, I know of a plan that you can use that will actually get you to the point that you can retire when you're ready. So 36% of workers have less than $1,000 in savings. I took my daughter to an event called Limitless that was held in Salt Lake City, and she was the photographer that day. And they did a little process where they had people stand up, and they would sit down when they got to how much money they had in their savings account. And it wasn't to shame anybody, but it was to really help you realize where you were as far as like and where you maybe wanted to be. And my daughter stood and watched people sitting down when they would say, okay, if you have less than 1,000, sit down. And she watched tons of people sit down. And then they said, okay, if you have less than 5,000, sit down. And she watched tons of people sit down. And my little 15-year-old daughter has over $10,000 in her savings account. And she realized she was better off than 90% of the adults in the room because I've taught her these principles of money and she uses them. So learning how to use these principles of money is a really big deal. And having a place and a process to help you save really makes a big difference. So there are two ways to change your net cash flow. One is to spend less, and one is to earn more. Now, I really think that earn more is always the best choice because it just is. But you have to start somewhere, and sometimes spending less is the answer in the beginning. So first of all, I want you to think about the difference between what I mean by net cash flow. So just because somebody makes $5,000 a month does not make them have a better net cash flow than somebody who makes $3,500 a month. Now I know you're thinking, but wait, that other person is making $1,500 more. They've got to have a better net cash flow. Not necessarily, because let's do the math. If someone is making $5,000 a month and they spend $4,900 every single month, they have $100 net cash flow. That's their extra money. But if someone is making $3,500 a month and they're spending $3,000, they have $500 of net cash flow. That is a huge difference. So the person who's making more isn't necessarily better off than the person who's making less. So it really depends on how you spend your money and how you choose to spend it in the future. It's not that you can't afford things. It's that you're not going to choose to spend it that way. And that's the way I want you to talk to yourself when you see something that you want, or maybe not even necessarily want, but you think might be nice to have. I don't want you to go, oh, we can't afford that, because you probably could. But you're going to choose not to spend your money that way. And you're going to say those words instead of, I can't afford that. Because saying, I can't afford that actually pushes money away from you. But saying, I choose not to spend my money that way is a completely different feeling. And I want you to say those out loud and feel the difference in just how you feel when you say those two phrases. I'm going to say them again. I can't afford that. Okay, that is a very big rejection statement. Now say, I choose not to spend my money that way. That's an empowering statement that puts you in absolute control of your life. So I want you to think about those phrases and what those mean. Okay, I'm getting some feedback again. Hold on one second. Okay, is the feedback gone? I think we got rid of the feedback, so hang on one second. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we can spend less and earn more. This is really important. So we're going to talk about a process. Oh, I think I have to go back to my other thing. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about how adults need to do it. Now, this is a really big leap for a lot of people, so don't get discouraged at all by this process. This has been proven out over history in many, many books, and I learned a lot of this from a Hindu woman many, many years ago, and I've put this into my life regularly. I never, ever, ever deviate from this living. So you're going to draw a star, and you're going to take whatever income you receive, and you're going to take 10% immediately, and you're going to give it to God. We call this tithing for your body. You own, it's like rent for your life. Find a church. If you don't belong to one, find one that you trust, and you make sure you are tithing 10% to a 501c3, a church, something that is considered a religious institution. I really believe this matters the most. This is the most important one you do, and this is the one you start with if you do nothing else. So at first, you may start by living on 80% and tithing 10%. And if that's all you can do, that's all you can do at first. But I want you to find ways to spend less and fill up all of these other quadrants. I'm going to explain them all and what they're for and why you need to do it this way. So there's a great book called The Richest Man in Babylon. That book explains a 70-30 principle where you're living on 70%, you're tithing 10%, you've got 10% for short-term savings and 10% for long-term savings. And then I learned another 10% for philanthropy. And when I started doing this, that was when my financial life changed the most. So tithing is great, but you need to be giving away another 10% free of strings. So what does that look like? That looks like you giving to a college of your choice, a 501c3 organization that that's tax deductible if you want. It's giving cash to a stranger. It's buying something for somebody that you know they need and making sure that they have that. That's what that philanthropy looks like. There is no reward for you. Nothing comes back to you. There is nothing in it for you at all. It is pure philanthropy, and it really needs to happen. So I know there's another person who happens to be on this webinar who wants to teach businesses how to be philanthropic, and it's a really great thing. You should even be tithing that philanthropy money inside your business. It does make a huge difference. One year, the best year my husband and I ever had with our business was the year that we gave a ton of money to Habitat for Humanity, and we put in a lot of hours, and we helped build a home, and we spent a lot of our own money on it and a lot of our business profits on it, but we had a great year, and I think it really does come back to you, and I'll explain more about that and how that works later. So the other 10% that you have is this 10% short-term savings right here. Now this short-term savings is not money for trips. It's not money for, you know, that thing you really, really want that you're saving for. That is not what it's for. This is for emergencies. This 10% short-term savings is for when your washer machine goes out and you need a new one today. Or that tire just got blown on your car and you need a new tire today. Or you get into that accident and you have to come up with your deductible today. So this short-term savings will grow very, very, very quickly. At one point, my husband and I's short-term savings was $70,000 over just a few years. We were putting a ton of money into our short-term savings account. We were living on less than 60%, and it felt wonderful. And it was a really good thing we did it, because in 2008, when the market crashed, because we were in the industry of construction, our income was drastically slashed, and we used that short-term savings to survive, and we went through it almost completely before we began to have that abundance really show up for us again. But it was there, and we didn't panic, we didn't worry, we made our house payments, we made all of the payments that we needed to make, and we still lived a really good, abundant life. And I still put 10% away. Even though I was getting very little money, I still put 10% into my short-term savings account every single check we received. Now this long-term savings account, this is money you don't touch no matter what. I don't care what kind of a thing comes up in your life. This is your money that gets you to survive. I'm going to pause for just 1 second. I have got to take a drink, so hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So this long-term savings right here is your retirement savings. This is the money that you're putting away so that you have money to survive on retiring. Now, this can look like a lot of different things, but I want you to recognize this is money for investment and savings. This is not money to go on that trip you always wanted. This isn't money to, you know, come in and when there's a big sickness or an illness. That's what your short-term savings is for. And you get to use that over and over and over again. But this long-term savings really needs to grow in a very big way so that you can have a really good savings account when you retire and have a good portfolio for what you want to live on. Now, this is the adult version. I really want you to teach to your children this version. The difference here is they don't live on 60%, they live on 40%. They don't have rent, they don't pay for food. These are your kids that are living at home. This is how you teach your children to save money. And you'll put 20% into their short-term savings. Now this will probably be for one of those things like a car when they're ready to get out on their own, or maybe for a wedding, or for college, things like that. That's what the short-term savings is for children. And then long-term savings, again, this is for their retirement. They're not going to touch this. You'll be amazed at how much they will be able to save and grow this if they really work hard at putting that money away. But they need to have fun. Too many parents take all of their money away from their kids and say, we're saving this, we're saving this, we're saving this, and they give their children nothing to spend. So it's important for kids to have this opportunity to have something to spend. They can live on this. That means they get to spend it on themselves. Maybe they spend it on gifts or for their family for Christmas or for birthdays, but they still get to tithe and they still get to give things away. And it's so fun to hear how kids want to give. They want to give to the cutest things, and they come up with the most unique ways of giving, and they see that money growing. They're like, Mom, I have $40 in my philanthropy money. Can I please give that to such and such? And you're like, sure, that would be a great gift. And it really helps them understand this process of saving money and spending less. Now, when I talk to you about this, it may feel a little bit like, well, there's no way I can live on 60% because this just seems impossible. I promise you, as you put these principles into place, your 100% will grow. And I don't know how this works because I do not understand how the math behind this works, but it does. It has been proven that people who do not save money regularly never get out of debt. But people who save money regularly get out of debt. And that it doesn't make sense mathematically because you can put it all on a chart and say, but if I take my savings and I pay off my debt with it, my debt will go away faster. But for some reason it doesn't work. And so there is some hidden mathematical principle behind all of this that I can't explain, that I don't understand, but I know is true. It works when you save, when you tithe, when you give, and when you create long-term investment for yourself and live on less. Your 100% will grow, and you will have more to give, more to live on, more to save, and more to tithe. It's amazing how this works. So the reason I believe it works is because of how money flows. So this is what happens when money doesn't flow. This is a picture of the Dead Sea. So the Dead Sea has a big inlet and it has no outlet. There's no real way for any of the water to leave. And this is what the Dead Sea looks like. These are two pictures actually taken at the Dead Sea. This is dead. There's flow in and there's no flow out. So this would be an example of somebody who's maybe not a good steward with their money. They've got flow in, but they don't let it flow out the proper channels. And so because it doesn't flow out, their lives are dead. They feel frustrated by how empty their life might be or how frustrating it is. And so a lot of this can happen with your money when you don't let money flow. So here is the Red Sea. So this has an inlet and it has an outlet. What's awesome about this is it is full of life. It is full of color and beauty. And these are actual pictures taken from a scuba diving expedition at the Red Sea. So these are real pictures. And this is really how money works. As you let money flow to you and through you, you will experience greater life, more abundance, more beauty. And I hope you understand how real this actually is for you. So Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, the reason I bring up this quote is because money actually has an energy. It actually holds a vibration. And you have to change your vibrational level, because you are either repelling money or you're attracting it. And if you find that you're repelling money, you need to change your vibration. Now, I'm going to give you 3 things that can help you with your vibration immediately. One is speaking words of life to yourself about money. Speaking words of life to yourself about yourself. When I say that, what I mean is you speak always positively about money, about abundance, about life, and about your goals. These are called words of affirmation. So speak words of affirmation. That's one of the things that you can do to help change your vibration level immediately. The second thing you can do is find some really awesome, fun music. Turn it on. Now, dance. I know that seems a little funny, but it works. Changing your vibrational levels through music and dance is amazing. Getting your body moving in a positive way with music is an amazing way to change your vibrational level. A lot of people, when they get home, they've got laundry to do, they've got work on their mind, come home, they just want to chill and relax. But the best thing they can do to change their levels is to dance and turn on some powerful music. The third thing you can do is that vision board. Putting a vision board up and feeling the emotion that comes with receiving things from the vision board. And when I say that, what I mean is you're going to pretend like you've already received it when you see your vision board. You're going to feel what it feels like to already have that thing or that relationship or that goal accomplished in your life. Those 3 things can help you change your vibration very, very quickly. The other thing to do is to recognize if you have a limiting belief that proves out that you don't deserve nice things. So if you're having a lot of things break in your life, or they're in need of repair, or you're losing them easily, there are 2 possibilities. Either you have a limiting belief that's proving out to be true, you don't deserve these things, or you're just functioning at a lower vibration. So change your vibration, and that will help both situations. But as we go through the limiting belief during your belief breakthrough process, after this program is over, you will actually have a chance to really look at that belief and see if that's really what's holding you back. Okay, so this slide is interesting because we're talking about vibrations and energy. This actually comes from a book called Power versus Force. And the reason that I wanted to bring this specific slide to your attention, and you can find this on the internet anywhere, just type in Power versus Force and you can get this image. And I think this is a good image for you to print out and stick it on your fridge, or have it someplace where you can find it easily accessible. And when you're feeling negatively, I want you to look at this chart and decide which of these emotions or which of these feelings are you having. And I like to use this yellow center one because I think it works the very best. If you're feeling fear about something, your vibrational energy is low. You have to get your vibrational energy at least to courage. To have the courage to want to change. To have the courage to move forward in spite of your fear. To have the courage to do that class you were wanting to do, or to finish that that degree for college, or to put yourself out there in some way that maybe you were afraid to before. Just find courage. That's the biggest one that you can do to shift your energy levels quickly. And then the rest of these on up are actually higher and higher and higher and higher vibrations. So you want to just check in with yourself and see how you're feeling toward money, toward abundance, toward positive things in your life, and change your vibration as quickly as you can. So as you work through some of these negative beliefs and you switch them into positive beliefs, to positive affirmations, you're also going to want to look at how you're actually feeling in that moment, and if you're feeling pride or anger or desire. And this is like the desire in wanting something in a negative way, like you want that and it's almost like with anger or frustration that you don't have it. It's that kind of desire. It's not the kind of desire that's good. The other one, fear. If you've got fear about it, like you're afraid of having money, or you're afraid that if you do, you'll leave your husband, or you'll leave your wife, or you'll become a greedy person, or whatever it is, just check in and see what that fear is. Maybe you've got some grief, like you feel like it's unfair that somebody else didn't get it, and you feel bad, and you just have a lot of grief in your life toward money or toward abundance, or you saw somebody whose life was negative, and so you don't want to be like that, and you're worried about being that way. Apathy. This is a huge one. So many of us live in apathy, and we believe that there's nothing we can do. There's no point in even trying to change. This is how I was raised. This is what my life's supposed to be, so I'm just going to accept it. That's a very condemning way to look at yourself, and so we want to make sure that we're not in apathy. Please do your best to come away from that. Also, guilt and shame. These are huge. Do you have guilt about not having money? Do you have guilt about having money? Or do you feel like you are shaming yourself because you don't have money, or shaming yourself because you feel like you don't deserve it? Really check in and see what your emotions are tied to your money situation, and that will really help you recognize your own levels and whether you're pushing money away or pulling it toward you. Okay, this is called The Conscious Creator. This is a book written by Chris Crone, and I do have on my website, you can purchase this book. It's $15 plus shipping, and the shipping is usually not very much. I might have even included the shipping in that. I'm not even sure. But it's on the website, mentoringforme.com, and there are 6 laws of conscious creation. Now, most of us are very familiar with the law of attraction. This one gets a lot of pull because we've heard about it. It was on The Secret, and this brought a lot of this to the conscious mind about how to create with the masses, and that we attract what we think about. So recognizing the law of attraction is recognizing you attract good and you attract negatively. I want you to think about the last time you thought about something and it actually happened. My daughter did this yesterday. It was so funny. We had a good laugh about it. She pulled a glass, it's like a little hurricane lamp. She pulled a little hurricane piece off of the lamp, and she was pretending like she was going to, I don't know why she did this, but she said, well, if this hit you, it would really hurt, so stop worrying about what you're worrying about. I don't know what it was about really, but she was kind of joking around. And she goes, I'm not going to break it. Well, because she said I'm not going to break it, it slipped right out of her hands and it broke on the floor immediately. Well, it's because she actually said I'm not going to break it. The subconscious mind didn't hear not, it only heard I'm going to break it, and so it proceeded to break it. And it's amazing how this law of attraction works. So make sure when you're doing your turnarounds on your negative beliefs that you're not using words like not or never and keeping the negative thing in it, because that is not how it works. You have to actually say the positive thing and eliminate all the negative words and any words that are in the future to use the law of attraction in the right way. Your subconscious mind only understands the present tense, so it's really important you put everything in the present tense. There are many books on the subject, like The Secret. There's Think and Grow Rich. I do have a free PDF of that on my website. There's Millionaire Mindset. There's The Millionaire Next Door. There's The Automatic Millionaire. There's Acres of Diamonds. There's a lot of different books about the law of attraction and how that works. But I really liked The Conscious Creator because it does jump into these other laws. And this is a hardback book. The law of purpose is knowing what your purpose is in life and finding it. I love the quote by Buddha, your purpose in life is to find your purpose in life and give your whole heart and soul to it. We actually have this in our office above our filing cabinet on a beautiful board. I love the quote, and I think it's a really important thing to remember. You do have a purpose, and it's important that you find out what it is. There's the law of choice and accountability, and this really causes you to put that mirror in front of your face and recognize that everything that you've created in your life, good and bad, are a direct result of your choices. And you get to get very accountable about it. I went through a period of my life where I was very unaccountable about what was going on in my home, and I recognized that I was kind of placing blame on others, even though I really believed in my heart I wasn't making those choices. I had to get really honest with myself and recognize that some of my choices were actually creating that environment. Now, I wasn't the only person making those choices, but I had to recognize my part in it and get 100% accountable about my choices. The law of alignment will help you understand that we have to be aligned perfectly to achieve our goals. And our goals have to be aligned according to those first three laws. And I believe personally that this law of alignment is aligning yourself with God or your creator in the highest way possible, so that this isn't about greed, but it's really about doing what's expedient in the world and making sure that you've aligned yourself properly. There's the law of faith, and that's just recognizing you are actually trying to create something that you don't see in your life right now. And that law of faith really needs to work itself through. And then there's the law of gestation, and this is the law where most of us get stuck. We think if it didn't happen exactly by the date we set on our vision board or in our goal sheets, that somehow we failed. Well, no, you didn't. Maybe it just isn't the right timing yet. Maybe there's something else you still need to learn. Maybe there's something else that hasn't completely unfolded so that your dreams and goals are unfolding in the proper time frame. So be patient with yourself and kind. And like I said before, celebrate those little victories along the way, because they make a huge, huge difference in your life. This book, like I said, is available if you want to order it. I have plenty to ship off, and this is a fantastic read. I read this book on a trip to Hawaii a couple of years ago and loved it. I loved the entire thing. And then we came home. My husband and I both read it. We each had our own copy. We both read it on the plane. And when we got home, we decided to read it to our kids. And when we read it to our kids out loud, we got so much more out of this book than we had received the first time we read it, because we weren't caught up in the storyline as much as we were in the principles that were so powerfully impactful inside of this book. It's a really great book, and I highly recommend it as a book that you have on your shelf and that you reread every couple of years. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is we have to think outside the box and to have impact. So many of you probably recognize this quadrant. This is called the cash flow quadrant, and it's by Robert Kiyosaki. And he's a big real estate guy. But the thing I want you to really understand is the difference between this left side and this right side of the quadrant. So the left side is really about being an employee. You have a job, and that's great, and it does get you by, but you'll be the first one fired if things start going bad. Maybe not the first one, but you're definitely not be the last one fired because you're not the owner. And then the other one is being self-employed. And self-employed is a step up from having a job, but now what you do is you own a job. So you work for yourself, but you still have to go to work every single day to receive the income. And you'd be surprised who falls into this self-employed category. Self-employed is a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer. These are self-employed people. They work for themselves. They may receive high levels of income, but they still have to show up every single day to do their job. I have a brother-in-law who's a dentist, and he says all the time, I don't go into work, I don't make any money. I have to go in, and I have to be there in order to make money. So what's interesting is what he did in order to start having passive income. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So let's look at the other side of this box. We have the business owner. Now, a business owner owns a system where other people are working for you, and that system is generating income whether you show up or not. Now, a business owner isn't always able to just be like, oh, I don't have to go into work today. There's still work to do, but they don't have to be as rigid with their schedule. My husband and I just got back from a 2-week vacation in Hawaii. The first week I spent with about 50 other friends of mine who are also in a very strict mentoring program that I'm paying high levels of money for, and I'm trying to pass on some of this information to you at a very inexpensive cost. But we were there with 50 people for a week, and we had a blast on Kauai. And then after that, we brought all of our children over to Maui, and we flew to Maui, and we went to Maui, and we had a week with our kids there, and we just got back on Sunday. I think that's why I actually have a cold, because of the red-eye flight home Saturday night to Sunday where I didn't really sleep. Kind of caught up with me, but it's okay. I had a blast. And as a business owner, we were able to leave town and still have income generated for us while we were gone. We had employees working, and we have a system in place where people work for us, and it creates ownership. Now, that doesn't mean my husband doesn't have 60-hour weeks sometimes, because he does sometimes. But he's created a way to run his life a little differently. I'm going to pause you for 1 second again, because I'm about ready to sneeze. Thank you for waiting so patiently. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is an investor, and this is where money works for you. This is where you are receiving passive income because of leverage, and the business owner and the investor both receive passive income. It means you don't have to show up to work every day to receive income. And there are 4 ways for you to move from here to here. And I'm going to show you some of those ways you can do that very quickly. So again, we've talked about this. The employee has a job. The self-employed owns the job. They are taught to work hard for 30 to 45 years, save in your 401k or IRA, build a nest egg, then deplete the nest egg during retirement. And this is called an accumulation mindset. This mindset really is, how much can I get? How much can I get? How much can I get? And accumulate so that I feel safe when it's time to retire. This is what the middle class actually does. And a lot of people are in the middle class. But if you want to move from just the middle class to the upper middle class or to the upper class, as far as income goes, you have to change your mindset. So this is what the wealthy do. This is kind of hard to see, and I apologize for it being so small. But the basic thing that I want you to understand is these are statements, net worth statements. So the middle class has income, and they buy liabilities, and then they pay their expenses. So they buy liabilities. That's your mortgage, a loan on your car, or you have credit cards. Then they have a few assets. They have some savings, and they have a 401k. And this is how their money flows all the time. It pays their liabilities, and it pays their expenses. Their income pays their liabilities, and it pays their expenses. The wealthy do something completely different. The wealthy have income, and they purchase assets. Then those assets generate more income that they make their expenses with and pay off liabilities. So they actually create a completely different cycle inside a wealthy income statement. They own businesses, they own rental properties, they own investments. So I'm going to go back to my brother-in-law for a minute, who is a dentist. He decided he was tired of having to show up for work every day just to make money. So he and a couple of other people went in on a business deal, and they decided to build a complex where they could all rent space inside that complex to each other and to others to generate income. So each of them took a space and rented that space. Then they rented out the other spaces, and they generate enough income to not only pay for the mortgage on the space, but have extra cash flow as well. They were going to be making a payment for rent for their business location anyway. So why not pay that payment to themselves? and now they own a building. And this building continues to create income for them. Eventually, this building is going to be paid off. And then all of those leases inside of that building will be generating pure income without any extra expenses. Of course, there'll be, minor expenses, repairs and painting and leasehold improvements as things go on. But overall, this is a great income generator for my brother-in-law. My father did the exact same thing. When he owned his plumbing company, he decided, I have to rent from somebody, so why not just build a building? So he built a building, and he set up a corporation that would own that building. So he paid rent to this new corporation that he'd set up. Eventually, the building was paid off, but this corporation continued to receive that rental income from his corporation. So his corporation has an expense of rent every month, but this new corporation has no expense because the building's been paid off, and it's just an income stream for this new corporation he'd set up. Eventually, he sold his plumbing business, but the building he still owns. He still owns the property. So this business still makes that payment month after month after month to his business that owns this asset. This is how the wealthy think. You have to shift your thinking in order to shift your income. I hope that makes sense to you. I can go into this in more detail with you at another time, but I really want you to understand how to leverage your money in a way that's purchasing assets instead of just buying liabilities. There are 4 ways to create passive income. So the basic 4 ways are business, real estate, some other type of investment like a 401k or a stock market or something, or intellectual property. That's an invention or writing a book. Somehow you're receiving royalties. Maybe you made a movie. I don't know, maybe you're a YouTuber. I don't know what it is, but there's some way that you're getting royalties without having to show up every day to create that passive income. Those are the 4 ways, and those are the only 4 ways to get leverage and passive income. And I want you to think about using one or more of those ways in your portfolio to create that passive income that you really want. So we know there's only 4 ways. So there's the business owner side and there's the investor side. So real estate is one of the safest investments you can do because real estate is a real thing. There's actual property. A lot of people put money into gold and silver. That's also a good investment because it actually is an actual property. But the stock market is, even though I do trade the stock market, I have to be honest, it's a bit of a false investment. These are numbers in a machine. There is no real property that you have. You may own shares in the stock market. My father had a company that he bought stock in once, and it was called Dry Ships. And if you look up that stock, it's DRYS on the stock exchange. He bought shares at like $12 a share. Well, he sold those shares when it was about $90 a share or something, so I think 9 times his money, and it was amazing. But he got out. Those shares are now trading for like 11 cents. 11 cents a share. So just because there's stock in a company doesn't mean those shares can't go to almost zero. So recognize how volatile the stock market can be, and real estate is really one of the safest ways for passive income to come to you. And there are even ways now for you to do real estate that you can have absolutely no money down and do it. It's called creative real estate, and it's possible, and I hope you'll talk to me afterwards about how I can get you involved in that if that's something you're interested in. So what I want to ask you is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Do you want it as bad as Henry Box Brown? Do you want it bad enough to change your thinking, to shift your results, to begin to see a different way of thinking? Because our mind has pathways in it, okay? So I want you to imagine a field like the one in front of you where there's a path. Now, if you walked through that field just once, you would create a pathway through the grass or the wheat or whatever, and it would probably not be even visible after you walked through it once. So our brain is a lot like that. We create pathways or synapses in our brain where we have an emotion and we get a certain response, and as we continue to go down that pathway, we actually create a stronger synapse. But we can also create new synapses. We cannot actually break an old synapse. It's impossible. But what we can do is create new ways of thinking. Sometimes this is called brain glue or mind glue, and your brain will actually hurt. Physically, your head will hurt during the process of creating new pathways. So if you're learning something new, and you may even have one right now, but if you have a headache because you're learning something new, that's good. That means your brain is working really hard to create these new pathways and to create new ways of thinking, and that's a good sign. And as you continue creating this new pathway, the old synapse will not even be used anymore, and that's good, because if the old pathway was creating bad thinking, you don't want to go that way anymore, and you want to create this new pathway. So how bad do you want it? It may actually hurt during the process, but that's okay. It's all good. You'll get there. So I have a website called Mentoring for Me, and on this website there are different things you can purchase. You can purchase books, like I said, or you can purchase mentoring. And I really like my 6-week mentoring program, and I'm actually offering my 6-week program for half off. But the way it works is you have to bring a friend. So it's a 6-week class, and it's personalized. So you and I are on the phone personally once a week doing a belief breakthrough. And there's also what we call turnaround texting, and that's where you text me every day a limiting belief and your turnaround. And during that process, I will correct your wording, I will help you make sure that it's in the present tense, and I will help you with your turnaround as much as I can via text. I have a lot of people who use this process, and sometimes they send me a diatribe of story, but that's really not the point. The point is, what's the limiting belief and what's the turnaround? And generate it and create it and then say it until it becomes yours. And if you can't get that turnaround to stick, that's the one we'll work on when we do your weekly call, where we actually do a belief breakthrough for you. So this is normally $500 for 6 weeks. This also comes if you live in Utah, or if you can travel to Utah, with a 3-day seminar to Limitless. So this program has a big reward to it, but I'm offering it as a 2-for-1. So if you find a friend that you want to do this with you between now and the end of the year, I'm offering this as a 2-for-1. So 6 weeks for 2 people for $500. So you're only paying $250 for 6 weeks of belief breakthrough and every day text turnaround. All I ask is that you not text me before 8 in the morning and not text me after 9 at night. I do a lot of meditation in the morning, and I go to bed very early because I live on a farm. So that's one of the things that I'm offering. I'm also going to send everyone who's on this call a free ebook. And I thought there was one more slide, but I can't. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to offer you a free ebook, a couple of free ebooks. I have quite a few on my webpage that are free, that are about money, and I talked to you about the Wallace Wattles book. I'm also going to send you the Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth, which is how Chris Crone actually got his real estate fortune, and he has hundreds of homes that he owns that produce money for him every single month. And what's amazing about this is if you have 10 homes in your portfolio, and when they're paid off, if you have those 10 homes still in your portfolio, or if you've sold them and bought new ones or whatever, you will likely have a portfolio generating you $10,000 to $15,000 a month in income, and you'll never touch your retirement nest egg. It will still be there for you, and you can pass that on as a legacy to your children. The other thing that I have for you is there's a place called libertythroughproperty.com, and this takes you inside of my Star Forum website, where you can sign up for a free class. It's a free class similar to this one. It's all free, but it's going to give you more information about specifically how to do the Liberty Through Property, and it's a class taught by Stephen Palmer, and at the end he will offer you a free game plan. If you don't want to do the class but you just want to get the free game plan, I'm happy to do that for you too. That's really easy, and I can give that to you at any time. You can contact me anytime. My email address is mentoringforme@gmail.com, and there's my phone number, 801-898-1222, and I am going to switch back to the live slideshow, and we're going to take questions. Do you all see a place for questions on your Hangout? I hope you can see it. Okay, I can see the place where I can see the questions, but I'm not seeing anybody with a question. I really want to get to some of your questions and make sure that I've covered everything you really wanted me to cover. I hope that you understand at the end of this class how money flows, how you can get it flowing toward you, how you can get it flowing out of you so that more and more flows into you. I really believe that that process is a really big part of how you generate more income, because that money flow really, really matters. Recognizing that you're being a good steward with something gives your creator the ability to give you more to be a good steward with. So maybe you guys can't see the question thing. Wondering. Okay, you can see it? Okay, good. I think I just saw Katie there telling me okay. So that's good. I want to let you guys go. I told you it's be an hour and a half. You're welcome to email me any you have if you want them to be more private. And I hope you enjoyed the class. I'm really excited to have more people know about really what to do with their finances and how to really take this on. And while this class may have had some things in it that weren't new to you, the belief breakthrough that we're going to do afterward is going to be powerful. And that's probably going to be one of the biggest things that will really help you break through your money blocks and get you moving forward in your life. Thank you so much for attending today. If you have friends that you think might have wanted to attend, they're still welcome to go online and pay for it. And you can simply, I'll send them the link and they can hear this broadcast, just not live, but it will be rebroadcast. So thank you so much, and I appreciate all of your time today. Thanks, you guys.